Survivor has been on for 20 years, and going on its 41st season, it's fair to say Survivor has been a staple of television. But with it being on for so long, there's bound to be some big duds and ugly moments during the franchise's run that gave the show an awful look, such as everything involving Dan Spilo, Brendan Hansen, Kara Moen, and the Double Quit Tribal Council. But despite all the bad moments in Survivor history, there have been numerous times during the show's run where Survivor got extremely lucky, and things could have been a lot worse. These moments not only could have had a seriously negative impact on the show, but in some cases, could have ended our favorite reality television show altogether. What's going on, guys? I'm Flynn Masters, and today we'll be looking at 5 cases in Survivor history where Survivor got extremely lucky, and the show is very fortunate that things didn't take a turn for the worse. If you like what you see, then hit that like and subscribe button, as I'll be making new Survivor videos every week. With that said, let's start this list with number 5. We'll open up by talking about probably the biggest sicko to ever play Survivor. The scary thing is, though, this disgusting human being came really close to winning Survivor on 2 separate occasions, and that is Michael Scoopin. After playing Survivor twice, Scoopin was arrested in 2016 for 6 accounts of child pornography possessions. So how close was this predator to winning Survivor? Well, had he not fallen into the fire in the Australian outback, I think there's a really good and scary possibility that he wins that season. During season 2, Scoopin was in a great spot on Kucha, and the tribe had the numbers advantage. Had Kucha gone into the merge with numbers, or even if Varner had been an idiot, I think Scoopin is the front runner to win. He was the bona fide leader of Kucha, thus every alliance was wanting him. Once the Ogakors would have been picked off, he could have chosen to go with either Alicia and Jeff, or Roger and Elizabeth, guaranteeing him final 3, and basically putting him one challenge away from winning. Granted, there are a lot of variables we don't know for sure. Like, we don't really know much about Nick Brown's strategy. He could have actually started playing at the merge, or pull Colby, being one of the bigger physical threats, and become a challenge beast, taking Scoopin's spot. Maybe Kucha would have realized what a big threat Scoopin was, and took him out when they first got the chance. Or even if Scoopin would have got to the end, someone like Roger or Elizabeth I could easily see using their social games to persuade the jury. However, based on how he was perceived by others and his position in the game, Scoopin was in far too good of a spot, and I think was in the best position to win out of all the Kuchas. And then you have the Philippines, where he actually did make it to the end. Despite this, I don't think he was ever really close to winning this season, as he not only thought he could beat Denise, but thought he could beat Malcolm as well, and obviously terrible Reed. Even if it was between him and Lisa, I think Lisa takes that jury vote as well. Still, had he had half a brain and took Abby with him and Lisa to the final 3, it's far too close of a call on Scoopin being a Survivor winner. But there was also a reward in the Philippines, where the winning team would deliver school supplies and spend the day with kids. Yeah, I think production got very lucky that day, with Scoopin losing that reward challenge. Scoopin not only had a chance to win the Philippines, but I think had the best chance out of everyone remaining at the time he fell in the fire in the Outback. And considering the Australian Outback is Survivor's most watched and iconic season, Survivor got extremely lucky that this disgusting human being wasn't represented as its winner. The next spot isn't as controversial, but still a massive lucky break from a production standpoint. It's the final 12 of Survivor China, and the tribes are mixed up. Except, not in the usual fair tribe swap way. It's a select 2 players that are easy vote-offs type tribe swap. And without question one of the most unfair twists in Survivor history, James and Aaron were selected by John Hu to come over to their tribe, immediately putting them at the bottom, with no other option but to win challenges to avoid going home. The problem was, even that was out of their control when PG and Jamie decided to throw the first immunity challenge as new tribes. So, they could only sit at Tribal and Agony knowing it was going to be one of them going home. John Hu chose Aaron, giving James a second life, where he was granted an idol by Todd in the next episode, guaranteeing his safety till the merge. With James being spared over Aaron, this gave us one of the most hilarious and memorable characters in Survivor history, with James playing on 3 legendary seasons, winning America's Favorite Player in 2 of them. On top of that, James gave us one of the most iconic moments in Survivor history, when he was blindsided with 2 idols in his pocket at the final 7. So, with all due respect to Aaron, who I think could have won this season had he been spared at the final 12, John Hu choosing to send him home over James gave us one of the most iconic players and moments in Survivor history. A truly massive break for production and the fans watching. And I'm pretty positive there's one other big reason why James made for great television. While we were certainly lucky to get everything we got with James, there's one other player who Survivor was very lucky to have, as this person simply changed the game and rejuvenated the show at just the right time. That person is, of course, the one and only Russell Hantz. There have obviously been some legendary characters to play Survivor. Heck, in just the previous season, we got legends such as JT, Coach, and Tyson. But Russell was simply nothing like the fans had ever seen, and production no doubt struck gold in finding him. He found idols without clues, dominated the game from beginning to end, and was one of the biggest villains in not only Survivor, but reality television history. This was perfect timing for production, as of course Samoa was filmed right before Heroes vs. Villains, an iconic season of Survivor, and production, plus the viewers, got 2 seasons back-to-back of Russell. Now, say what you want about Russell, but he was no doubt a ratings hit for Survivor, as the Samoa premiere had around 11.5 million viewers, and climbed all the way up to nearly 14 million by the finale, which also transitioned into Season 20. Now, I'm not in the belief that Survivor was in any danger, and had it not been for Russell, it wouldn't be on TV anymore, but there's no question that Russell brought in not only new Survivor fans, but lured in previous fans of the show who had grown tired of it, but simply had to see Russell after everything they heard about him. Love him or hate him, there's no doubt Russell had a major impact on Survivor, not only gameplay-wise, but in making Survivor mainstream once again. Simply put, he's the luckiest find in Survivor history. Let me start off this next spot on the list by saying Survivor doesn't get enough credit for just how careful they are when it comes to keeping their players safe. They had pro snipers on hand in Africa in case of animal attacks. They have a medical team on hand at even the slightest case of possible emergency, and there's also so much that goes on behind the scenes, such as medical records of players and data on all sorts of creatures to keep an eye out for. And over 40 seasons, there have rarely been any instances where a Survivor contestant was in any true danger, except for one near-fatal day in Koh Rong. The next luckiest moment in Survivor history comes with Caleb not dying during the filming of Season 32. While there have been other very scary moments in Survivor history, such as Russell Swan's evacuation, nothing was as scary or as serious as what happened to Caleb. After an hour of vigorous digging in the scorching hot heat of Koh Rong, multiple people went down, including Caleb, who not only lost consciousness, but stopped breathing for a short period of time. And had he not been in great shape, more than likely he would have died. According to Caleb, they kept him in the ICU for about 5 days and was tested each day. The doctor told him, quote, "If you didn't have the muscle you have on your body, you would be dead. Your muscles were holding enough water to get you by, so it's good that you're fit and in shape and healthy. Thank God you had that significant amount of muscle, or you would have been gone." But not only would Caleb be gone, but more than likely Survivor would be gone as well, had he died that day. Now, first of all, I'm not saying that Survivor is more important than Caleb or any other human being whatsoever. But there's no doubt Survivor got extremely lucky that it was Caleb who suffered the heat stroke, as opposed to one of the young females, who didn't have the amount of muscle mass that Caleb had. Players like Sydney and Debbie did get overheated, but not to the extreme that Caleb did. If Caleb would have passed away, best case scenario for Survivor is that the season would have been cancelled, and the show would take a hiatus. But more than likely, someone dying on a show literally called Survivor would have got the show cancelled altogether. I think Survivor has learned their lesson about long challenges in the heat, and of course their new home of Fiji is nowhere near as bad environmental-wise as a place like Koh Rong. But still, Survivor got super lucky that Caleb was able to survive, and hopefully we'll never have to experience anything like that ever again. The last lucky break on the list comes from a season that was actually designed to get the show cancelled. A season that was already super controversial, but had there been a different outcome, it would have been so controversial that it would have likely gotten the show cancelled. Thankfully, an extremely smart and strong South Korean man was able to save the day. The final luckiest break in Survivor history comes with Yuen winning Survivor Cook Islands. This is a bit of an interesting one to talk about, and might even require its own video. But to sum it up, Jeff in production was just about done with our favorite TV show, and thought racially dividing up the cast would be a good send-off. However, the racial divide this season only hurt the look for Survivor as opposed to helping it. Then, at the final 12, this season took an extreme turn for the worse, when Penner and Candace flipped, giving Rero not only the majority, but half the tribe was made up of white players, making it seem likely that despite the diverse cast, this season would produce a white winner. The story goes, production got heavily involved in favoring the I-2-4, with the late merge and bio twist, and if this season was to produce a white winner, they would have never aired this season and paid everyone to be silent. Whether it would have been in fact the outrage of a white winner, or production simply not wanting that terrible look, had one of the original Rero won the Cook Islands, I don't think Survivor would be on TV today. However, with Yule winning Cook Islands, not only did Survivor avoid the disaster of a white winner, but the I-24 overcoming the 8-4 numbers disadvantage gave Jeff a newfound love for the show, ensuring to stay as the host. Now, we don't know for sure if all of this is true, or even if Survivor would be gone had a white person won this season. But there's no question a white winner would have been disastrous for the show, not only for the outrage it would receive, but for Jeff and production, who would not want to be associated with the bad look. Either way, the show was already in a bad spot before Cook Islands, as Season 12 saw its lowest ratings to date, and the producers, including Jeff, were done with Survivor, and things got only worse and worse as each day of Cook Islands passed. But the I-24 coming back not only rejuvenated the show for the viewers, but for production as well. Had it not been for Yule's incredible gameplay, Survivor may have never recovered. Thanks again for watching, guys, and again, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and feel free to leave a comment down below of what you think. Follow me on all my socials at Flynn_Masters, and I'll see you guys next time.